Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining Encore Palm Beach County. Happy New Year to all. Thank you for those who were with us last year back here, and thank you to all of those who are here for the first time. We're happy to have you join us. We have a very special event today. This is quite unusual. For the last 7 years or so, Rosemary Nixon has been diligently working behind the scenes to create a footprint for Encore Palm Beach County. And today we actually have her front and center sharing her wisdom and experience with us. So Rosemary, welcome. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we look forward to your wisdom and experience and sharing that with us. So I know you have a lot to talk about, so we're going to get right to it, okay? I know your expertise and your intro will come through as we start speaking about some of the things that you're doing. But to be honest, for most on the call, I don't think you need much more of an introduction. So to learn more about Rosemary Nixon, we're going to start asking her why it's important to find purpose. Is it something that we need to search for or something that we create for ourselves? Take it away, Rosemary.
Thank you, Christine, and thank you, everybody, for joining us today. If you don't know too much about Encore Palm Beach County, you can find our website at Encore PBC. .org. As Christine mentioned, we've been at it since 2016. We became a nonprofit in 2017. But this is really, I guess I would say, my swan song. Encore Palm Beach County is my swan song after 50 years of creating various organizations and projects in all the communities that I've lived in. Basically, I don't believe that you find your purpose and meaning in life. I believe you create meaning and purpose by what you focus your energies on, the choices you make about what's important to you, what you do well, and bring those beliefs and skills forth into your life, whether it's in work, volunteering, or family life for some people. I believe we create our lives by the choices we make. One thing kind of leads to another, and hopefully we can look back and feel good about the choices we've made and the life we've created. That's been basically my experience. I chose to do one thing, and one thing led to another and another and another. I can talk more about those different things, but my fundamental belief is we create our lives by the choices that we make. And that's why when I started retirement coaching back in 2008, I called my practice Create Your Best Retirement, because I believe we have the power to create what we want for our retirement years. And in fact, we all have been creating our lives right along by the choices we've made. But some people need help in seeing that. And there's much research that having a sense of purpose and meaningful activity in our lives contributes to healthy aging. So that's what I did in all my work, is to help people see what they have to offer and how to make a contribution.
Great information. How did you find your purpose? Was there some defining moment when you found it, or was there someone that had an influence on you? How did you find yours?
Well, I think people feel they need to find an activity, a job, or a volunteer activity when they feel a lack of direction in their lives, whenever that is. But really, what we need to do first is to figure out what we've done well in the past, at least by this stage in our lives, what you enjoy doing, and then find the places where you can employ those skills again. It's not about filling up time. It's about filling up yourself with what gives you satisfaction. And work and volunteering should benefit both you and the organization or the business that you're involved with. So in terms of finding my purpose, there was never any defining moment. I was working and volunteering when I was in high school, but I think the key thing for me was in 1960 when I voted in my first election for John F. Kennedy, and I heard his message. It may sound naive at the now, but back then, his message, which was ask not what your country can do for you, what you can do for your country and your community, inspired me. And I have stuck with that. That is something I can't seem to get out from underneath. And there are people my age who remember back then feeling the same way. You know, there are still plenty of us around who have that kind of commitment. Another influence was in college. I read a book by Viktor Frankl called Man's Search for Meaning. And for those of you who don't know about Viktor Frankl, he was a psychologist and a survivor of Auschwitz. And he wrote about his experience. And, sometimes there's just these simple little quotes or things that you hear that inspire you. And a quote of his impressed me. He said, forces beyond your control can take away everything you possess except one thing, your freedom to choose how you will respond to the situation. And for me, I think that's a very important skill that people need to learn because we all have situations. For me, I was in college when I got married and had my son. I was in at the School of Journalism at Simmons College in those dim and distant days of 1962. They would not allow me to go to school on a part-time basis. If I didn't go full-time, I couldn't go at all. So I switched to Northeastern University and went to school nights for 5 years to finish my undergraduate degree and then went to graduate school there. My point being is that we've all had things happen in our lives, our work lives, our personal lives that have caused us to have to respond in some way. And we respond by either giving up or persisting on the path that we choose for ourselves. So I'd say, it was not about having a specific purpose, but discovering what I'm good at, the skills I have, and then putting them to use in a variety of situations throughout my whole life. And I think that many of us do that. We may not be terribly conscious of us doing it. But when you look back, you see things, you see the threads of the decisions that you made. So for instance, I learned along the way that I was good at communication skills. I'm a writer. I'm good at organizing information and ideas and speaking to groups of people. You probably are aware a lot of people hate public speaking. I don't know why, but I just decided I was without fear, and it didn't matter where it was. I can remember being asked one time to speak about a program that I had developed in Hartford, Connecticut on television. I'd never been on television in my life. And of course, but I said yes. And that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. Saying yes to the opportunities that present themselves. That's my personal belief. I found myself driving to the TV station and thinking, what have I got myself into? I don't know what to do. I mean, what if they don't like me? What if, what if, what if? I just kept driving. I showed up at the TV station, and I might lose my video, folks, but I have sound, and that's all that matters, really. I just believe that, the important thing is to communicate goals and how people can reach those goals. And I'm a big believer that talk without action is just conversation. So I've just always been involved in doing something. As a young mother, I was active with the League of Women Voters in Boston, helping to create a mobile voter registration campaign that was in 1965. And as a lobbyist in the Massachusetts legislature, helping to convince legislators to vote in a certain way on issues important to the League. I've always been involved in volunteer work in different arenas. In each case, I use the same communication skills to inspire people to create something of value. In Old Saybrook, Connecticut, I ran a PR campaign to elect a candidate. And in another situation, I have helped organize people to defeat the building of houses on a golf course in Boca Raton. It's more about transferring your skills to other areas to be useful, whether it's in volunteering or work.
Rosemary, first of all, we all know that you are fearless.
I don't know why, really.
That we know for certain, and we admire you for that. And you and I have had many conversations about some of the things that you said about purpose, and I think we agree that it's all a certain mindset. There are some people who get it and some that don't. So what is your take on that? And then I want to show a bit of your work experience so that you can delve a little bit more into that. So what are your thoughts on mindset?
Well, I'd like to share a situation. Many years ago, 1975, I was executive director of the YWCA in Hartford, Connecticut. That's a story in itself. We were very involved with civil rights issues, gay rights, and women, the development of women's careers in the workplace. And I went to a training session for Y directors. I was only 35. I was probably the youngest Y director in the country at the time. And they had speakers from the civil rights organization talking about how they demonstrated and marched and so forth for civil rights. And a woman said, what's the worst that can happen? As long as they don't kill you or set the dogs on you. And I remembered that. And everything I ever did after that, my thought was, well, what's the worst that can happen? I even ran for office in Old Saybrook one time, went door to door. And I thought, as long as they don't set the dogs on me, I'll just keep doing it. So for me, I guess that's what you would call fearless. I just don't think about what's the worst that could happen is never what you think it's going to be. It never happens, actually. So the result of that is that I've always been involved with something interesting, something that helped me meet new people, helps me learn new things. And even now, I'm excited to get up every morning. There's always something that needs to be done, some new idea. I basically like to keep learning, and it's never been boring.
That it hasn't. So let me just share the screen and show your resume so you can speak on some of the awesomeness that you have been part of. Can everyone see Rosemary's resume?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Okay. Rosemary, you described yourself as a creative strategist and innovator. So we know that to be true. Is there key points on here that you want to showcase?
Well, if you can look at, you can see I've had 5 different careers. I mean, I started out to be a journalist and a newspaper reporter, and then when I had to change my major in college, I ended up in political science and public administration. So my first job was in city planning for the city of Middletown. And then I started a nonprofit in Hartford, Connecticut called the Retired Senior Volunteer Program. And then I became executive director of the YWCA in Hartford. And then I went into commercial banking. And then when I moved to Florida, I became a financial advisor with Ameriprise Financial. And you might say, well, is there some common thing about all these different careers? And I would say, so the first thing is, whenever things didn't work out, I just went on to the next thing. I didn't let anything stop me from finding the next thing. For example, when I was in community planning with the city of Middletown, we had a grant and it ran out, a federal grant ran out. And I figured, oh, well, what now? And I read about a women's center up in Hartford, Connecticut to help women re-enter the workplace. And I went up. I had never been in Hartford, Connecticut. I knew nothing about Hartford, Connecticut, and it was 50 miles from my home. But I drove up there and I met with a counselor, and I told her, I don't know what I should do next. Should I look for work? Should I go back to graduate school, get my PhD? Should I go to law school? Blah, 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 blah. And while I was talking with her, the phone rang and she answered it. And then she turned to me and she said, there's this nonprofit in Hartford. They just got a grant to develop something called the Retired Senior Volunteer Program to help people find new purpose in retirement. Does this sound familiar? This was in 1970. And she said, would you like to interview for it? And I said, well, okay. I had no idea what I was interviewing for, I have to tell you. I knew nothing about Hartford. I knew nothing about seniors. I really was no expert on volunteerism. I had never started a nonprofit, but I said, sure, I'll interview. And I was interviewed by a team of men consisting of the city manager of Hartford, people from Travelers and other insurance companies, and one woman. And I found out after the interview that I was their first choice as a candidate, but they worried that a woman would not be able to handle a 50-mile-a-day commute in each way in snow, sleet, and freezing rain. And the woman told them that if they didn't give me the job because of that, I could sue them for discrimination. So I got the job. And that job, I spent 4 years developing an organization that's still in existence today in Hartford. But when that woman retired as executive director of the YWCA, I got her job next. And that job led me into banking eventually. The point is that I was always willing to say, sure, I'll give that a try. So, that's what I mean when I say kind of one thing led to another. The second thing I would say as a continuing thread was I was always willing to learn something new. I mean, when I went into banking, commercial banking from the YWCA, I had to spend a year learning credit analysis and how to analyze businesses. I did have an MBA in finance, and I was familiar with raising money as executive director of the YWCA and the Retired Senior Volunteer Program. I never had any hesitation about asking people for money. I could never ask anybody for money for myself, but for the cause, yes, I could always do that. So I'd say those two things, willingness to say yes to new opportunities, willingness to learn something new. And as a result, I've always had work that helped me feel that I was making a contribution to people's lives, whatever it was that I was doing. Even in commercial lending, which looks like it's all about finance and money and so forth, I didn't see it that way. I saw it as I was helping to create jobs in businesses and the economy. So, there's a way of looking at things, visualizing things, and that's really what I've always done. With Encore Palm Beach County, I had a vision that we had an enormous pool of talent and ability here in Palm Beach County, and more people moving here every day, but that people over 50 were having a hard time finding work, particularly during the pandemic, but that they have a great deal to contribute to our communities and businesses, and that in an aging society with a declining birth rate, we can't afford to waste talent and experience. We should be helping people who want to continue to contribute, and that they sometimes need help to see that there are opportunities all around for ways to contribute. Some people need a little help to make that connection. So, that's the goal of Encore Palm Beach County, is to bring people who want to continue to make a contribution, and the nonprofits and the businesses that value them.
You are such a wealth of information, and even though we've had these conversations many times, I'm hearing new little spurts of wisdom coming out. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions. If you have questions for Rosemary, we'll be taking questions towards the end, or put them in the chat. And Rosemary, I know that this has always been your mindset, but we see a lot of well-known personalities, particularly on LinkedIn, and I know that you are very well versed in what a lot of them are doing in the area of purpose and finding your purpose. But as we mentioned earlier, it does become a mindset. It's that having that desire to serve. And I think we see that so much in business more these days, is that when we look to serve, things naturally flow to us. Do you feel that that was why things showed up for you so much?
Yes, I think that with regard to work, I recognize quite honestly that there are people who need a job to make ends meet. But I think particularly for people in midlife, it's important to think in terms of creating work. I personally, and I can't tell you the why, because I did not come from a wealthy family. I started working part-time myself when I was 16, earning money for college and so forth. My family gave me nothing for college. If I hadn't gotten a scholarship, I probably would not have been able to go to college. But for some reason, I was never focused on making money. I was never focused on finding a job that would give me some security, even though my family was of the generation post-World War II that was focused on finding security, finding a job that would give you security. So, for instance, the post office and the police force and so forth and so on. I was always focused on finding work that was interesting, where I could make a contribution and then move on. I consider myself an innovator. I am not a person who is interested in having a job for 40 years or 20 years or even 10 years. I found that for myself, 4 to 5 years was the amount of time where I could innovate and make a contribution and then move on. So I think actually today we're in a situation where there's a scarcity of those 40 year jobs with security and a pension. People need to be nimble and ready to deal with change, be willing to keep learning new skills, and be clear in communicating how they can make a contribution to the workplace. In other words, it falls on us to tell others what we have to offer and how we can help them, not answer a job or make a resume that says what we did. We need to find out what organizations, businesses need, and tell them how we can make a contribution. I'll give you an example. A lot of people said to me years ago, how did you make the move from being an executive director of YWCA, which is a nonprofit, to a position in commercial banking, where I was the only woman in all the banks I worked in for the next 10 years, lending to businesses. It was viewed as a man's job, basically. And what happened was that through my connections in Hartford, as a result of my work with the Y, I had contacts that introduced me to the presidents of 3 banks. And I sat down with them and they said, well, why do you think you could do this? I said, well, this is what I've been doing. And this is how what I've done here looks like what you're doing there. I mean, I'm used to managing and raising money and talking with people to give me their money. And isn't that all that lending is about? Convincing people to do business with you? And they looked at me and they said, well, yeah. And so I was on to the next thing. I think it's very much like that today. I think that people feel they have to fit into a slot of some kind, but I think that they have to sell themselves more. In the old days, businesses focused on managing inventory to just-in-time inventory. I remember that to control costs. Today, it's managing just-in-time people to fill slots. So in some ways, it's very hard to find a job that's going to be a long-term job, but it still really falls back to how can I make a contribution? Who needs what I have to offer? I must say I am concerned about people in their 50s today because they will not probably have pensions or 401ks. And the question is, how do you prepare financially for retirement? I can only tell you, I never had a pension. I never had a 401k, and somehow I'm still here paying my bills. I managed to make a living. So I think that people need to stop worrying about those things. Yes, they have practical concerns, but finding the work, whether it's volunteer or paid, where I can make a contribution, where you demonstrate you bring value, you will always have work of one kind or another.
And I think this is something you have already touched on, but I'd like to hear you embellish it a little bit more about how to align your work with your purpose. But I think one of the key areas is that we all have those unique skill sets and abilities. And as you mentioned, those are the things I think when we learn how to bring those to the surface, we can be more open to the creating and the serving. So do you find that it's important to align all of those?
I find my experience has been or whether it's in groups, in organizations, or with individuals as a coach, most people are not experienced at introspection and self-analysis. They need help in bringing that forth. You know, some people are good at it, and it's like a lot of things. There are those, I learned this in financial planning with Ameriprise. People kind of fall into three categories I learned as a financial planner. There are those people who are really good at figuring it out for themselves. That's a small group of people. And then there are those people who have no interest in really finding out about themselves. They, they're in survival mode, let's put it that way. And where there isn't enough time and energy to figure things out. But the great bulk of people have a lot to offer, and they just need a little help in figuring it out and how to do it and to define their goals, what it is that they're aiming at. I've been thinking a lot about this whole business of purpose and meaning. A lot of it is mental. It's you can find purpose in almost anything you do, even if it's garbage collection, taking it to the limit of maybe believability for some of you. You could choose to look at your job or your work as something that's just a paycheck. Or you could choose to look at it, well, yes, I'm a garbage collector, but I'm more than that. I'm helping to clean up the universe that I live in, create a better environment, a healthy environment, an important public service. You know, that is a mental shift in perspective of how you view your work and your contribution, whatever it is and wherever it is. I know it sounds Pollyannish, but it is the key to creating meaning in your work. You remember the words of Viktor Frankl. We don't always control the situations that we're in, but we can control how we think about them. And a long time ago, a man told me that the game of life is played between your ears. And I said, what do you mean the game of life is played? He said, it's all mental. It's all how you think about it. I said, oh, okay. All right. So to me, that's what it's all about. It's how you view what you do and your willingness to learn new things and saying yes to opportunity. Those people who know me know I believe that we are surrounded by opportunity all the time, but we don't always see it. Sometimes we need a little help seeing the opportunity.
Wow. If I could put an exclamation point on that, because I was going to ask you to reverse engineer the work and finding the meaning, finding the purpose, and you pretty much answered all of that. So how does Encore help people do that? How do you help Encore find fulfilling work and purpose, and as well as a paycheck? Of people in that 50 plus market are in need of that.
Yes. Whether it's paid or unpaid work, we at Encore, we try to identify the age-friendly employers in Palm Beach County. That was not the original thrust when I started Encore back in 2016. My view was that, hey, we got all these people here in Palm Beach County. They're retired, and our nonprofits need help. And all these people have skills and experience we could use. So the focus initially was on volunteering and helping to reach people and help them know about the opportunities to volunteer. But gradually, as I worked with Encore, we started meeting people who needed work. And some people, quite a bit older people in their 70s, needed work to make ends meet. And we said, okay, what can we do about that? And then we started meeting people in their 50s and 60s who had lost jobs in the pandemic or been their companies had been bought and they had lost their jobs and so forth. And these people had an awful lot to offer. So we said, okay, how can we help them? And one of our board members suggested that we start showcasing those employers here in Palm Beach County that are welcoming and receptive to mature workers. And that's when we started 4 years ago, our annual Wisdom and Experience Works for Business event to recognize age-friendly employers. So we now put their job boards on our website. We put the volunteer jobs on our website. We try to connect people to staffing agencies, career source, coaching people who can help them identify their key skills, what they enjoy doing, and find employers that want what they have to offer. And primarily educate the community on the value of mature workers. The fact is, there are very few organizations to help people over 50 find new work.
So Encore does a number of other projects as well. Do you want to share what some of those are?
Well, well, we do Zoom events every month to showcase people who are doing something new after 50, the resources that are available to them. Christine, help me out here. I mean, we do so many different things.
How about our volunteer projects?
Yes. Well, you know, I basically believe in volunteerism, always have. And during COVID, when a lot of the nonprofits were not able to entice people to come to their offices and programs to volunteer, we said, well, what can we do to help? And maybe we could encourage the nonprofits to bring their projects to where the people are. I had contacts with people at places like Abbey Delray in Delray Beach. A large number of older people live in these communities, and they were isolated. They were not able to get out because of COVID restrictions. And we encouraged a couple of nonprofits to bring the projects to them. That was 3 years ago, and volunteers at those communities have been doing projects ever since. Simple things like wrapping gifts for kids at Christmas time, filling goodie bags for fundraising events, filling food bags or personal care kits for organizations like Cross Ministries, Achievement Centers, and so forth. And that has been very satisfying for the volunteers involved. My personal belief is that just because people live in a senior community does not mean they can't be engaged in meaningful ways with the community. And we are seeking in the coming year to expand that concept to more communities and nonprofits in Palm Beach County. Anything else on your mind, Christine? So many things going on.
So many going on. Well, I love that volunteer project because I think it really exemplifies everything that you've talked about with purpose. Because not only is it giving the seniors a sense of purpose and fulfillment, but it's also enhancing other people's lives as well. So I think they both benefit, whether it be the nonprofit organization or the seniors doing the packing of items. They feel like it's giving them a worthiness. Do you agree?
Absolutely, but actually it's a rerun of an old idea. And, this is what I mean when I say we draw upon our experiences and knowledge from the past and carry it into the future. Back in 1970, when I started the Retired Senior Volunteer Program in Hartford, our focus was on recruiting people retiring from local corporations into volunteer service. But then along the way, I discovered there are all these nursing homes. We didn't even have assisted living facilities back then. You were either at home or you were in a nursing facility, nursing home. We discovered that the people in those nursing homes were quite interested and willing, working on projects, and that's what we did. We started encouraging the nonprofits to bring the projects to the people in the nursing homes. So it was like the old days, when people sat around in the quilting bees and so forth in churches and things like that. It was an old idea. We brought it to the Retired Senior Volunteer Program, and then we brought it to Encore Palm Beach County. Just using what's old and making it new again.
I love it. I love it, because it's not just about the work and finding purpose in work, because that is work for those people who are otherwise sitting there trying to figure out, what am I doing with the rest of my life? So it's giving them that sense of fulfillment too. So I think that's one of the great projects that we do. And as you said, there are so many others. But before we wrap up, I see we do have a few questions. Rosemary, as you approach 85 years old, what are your life and work principles that have contributed to your success? And how can someone define their own personal principles and bring them into their own life?
Well, Christine, for me, it's very simple. Nothing is different. I simply have always used the skills I've developed over the years to create something lasting that will make a difference. That's always been my goal. I'm focused right now on helping the transition to new leadership of Encore. Christine is going to be the new chair of Encore. I'll step back. I'll be on the board, but that's my focus, because I want to ensure that Encore lasts after I'm gone. I am not a grim do-gooder type. I really have just enjoyed creating new things, meeting new people, and using what I know. The muscles that you have. In fact, and I hope you won't take it the wrong way, I've had a damn good time doing it, really. People who know me, I've had a lot of fun. People who know me know I believe that possibilities are all around us. In fact, I've always believed I swim in a sea of possibility. It's just all there. We just need to open our eyes to it. And that introspection, knowing yourself, what you enjoy, and being willing to learn new skills is the key to finding the new possibilities in life at any age, I believe.
Beautiful, beautiful information. We do have, actually, they were comments more than questions. And so I think we'll open the line now. And if you have a question, please unmute yourself. Anyone? Eduardo, I know you always have a comment, Eduardo. I know I can always count on you.
Thank you. After COVID, a lot of us would love to work from home, but the opportunities are so few and far between. I would love to learn a little bit more about what opportunities may be there for somebody who would like to work from home. I do a lot of volunteer work through Kiwanis and Junior Achievement. I just came back from Everglades High School, where I mentored an entrepreneurship class. but I would love to be able to earn some more income so I can give back to the community. And I'm not sure if there are any such opportunities available.
A couple of things. One, first of all, I commend you on helping junior achievers. I was a junior achiever in high school, which probably tells you a lot about me right there. I sold chocolate chip cookies and made a killing. So a young entrepreneur. Two things. One, later this year, we'll be having a couple of Zoom sessions on entrepreneurship with a professor from Boston College, and that's her focus. Because one of the things about work today is it may actually involve creating your own business in some way, and maybe that's something that you can do from home, and maybe you need some help in thinking what that might look like. But that direction is a lot of people over 50 are going in. And the second thing is on our website, on the work resources page, there is a link, if you haven't seen it, to the Manpower Work at Home program. And you can make an application on that and see what they match you up with that's out there.
Beautiful.
That's one thing. I also later today will be having a conversation with Joan Greenberg from Manpower, and we'll talk a little bit about this whole business of working from home. I do think, however, and I've been giving this a little thought, it's lovely working from home. I'm doing it right now. In my mind, this is my work and I'm doing it from my home. Thank goodness I don't have to get out and drive 50 miles in snow, sleet, and freezing rain anymore. However, there is a negative about choosing to work only from home. It's isolating, for one thing. It doesn't bring you in contact with people who could perhaps lead you to work out there in the world that might be more satisfying. So, I think that's something that people don't think about. They think about the comfort and ease of working from home. But what do you lose by that? I think that's something to think about, Edward.
Definitely. I was thinking of possibly teaching Spanish to individuals from other countries that may be in need of Spanish and vice versa. People from Central and South America that are coming into this country, I would love to be able to teach them English because I came from Buenos Aires, from Argentina, a long time ago, almost 60 years ago. And I'd love to be able to influence somebody coming into this great country of ours and to say it's okay. And I know it's hard, but you'll make it. You'll make a go of it. But I'm not sure. I am a young 75, but I still have so much to give. I cannot believe how, Rosemary, you're incredible at your age. I would love to be you at your age. You're just adorable.
Well, I was older than you when I started Encore, and I didn't do it remotely. I got myself out there and I went everywhere and talked with everybody. And then, of course, COVID hit, and the blessing was that we were able to do things through Zoom and so forth. One of the other things that occurred to me as you were speaking, Eduardo, was that, have you been on our website of the Palm Beach County School District to see what they offer? There are some programs that maybe coaching and teaching remotely are possible. I don't know. I haven't looked at that. If you want to, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say that I am a treasurer for the Hispanic Education Coalition, but I moved to Broward County. I moved to Broward County about a year and a half ago. But I tried to apply with the Broward County School District, and it is, I'm not even sure if I can come up with a word. It's such a
Bureaucratic.
mess. It is terrible. I had to write, I mean, I served on the board of Career Source Palm Beach County with Pete Licata, and Pete is now the superintendent of schools in Broward. But I had to write to him for somebody to get back to me. I have a master's degree. I am a U.S. veteran. I think that there are some, certain things that I may be able to do to assist a teacher on a part-time basis. No one calls you. No one calls you. Like you are, I do not exist.
Huh. That's a shame. But you haven't been on our website of the Palm Beach County School District, because if you're talking about something remote, working with students remotely, it doesn't matter whether it's in Palm Beach or Broward.
I have not been, no.
Okay, Eduardo.
Yes.
Let's schedule send me an email and we'll schedule a time to talk, and I'll give some thought then to who maybe you need to be in touch with, what's out there that I'm familiar with.
I'd love to. And I know a lot of people in the school board of Palm Beach County, Mike Burke, Alexandria, Ayala, Marsha. So I know a lot of people. Barbara, a dear friend of mine. But in Broward County, I feel like, I don't know who to call, who to ask.
I don't know anything about Broward. Palm Beach County is, our focus. And but if you're talking about remote work, it doesn't matter where you are.
Definitely.
Really. So send me an email and we'll schedule something.
I promise. Thank you so much, guys. You're the best. I wish you a very happy and a healthy new year, 2024.
Same to you.
Thank you for all that you do, Rosemary and Christine, and everyone else here as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Eduardo.
Any other questions or comments, Christine?
Well, we do have Dan. Dan had put a comment that there are thousands of online hybrid opportunities. Would you want to share a few of those, Dan, that aren't MLMs?
What's an MLM?
Multi-level marketing.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm kind of multitasking here, but I did catch a lot of that. The ones I'm in, well, I have a life insurance business, so that's one possibility, but also a tax mitigation service, so helping local business owners with some of the more advanced tax credits. You don't have to be a tax expert yourself. There's a team of tax experts that you can just introduce the business owner to them, and they'll, at no cost, review what they might qualify for, and then the connector can earn a commission by facilitating the conversation. So that might be of interest. I've got others too. I'm exploring different e-commerce opportunities and involved with Maxwell Leadership. That's something you can do locally and online.
Thank you, Dan. I'll try to connect on LinkedIn as well.
And they're meeting in March in Orlando, not too far from you. So,
are you guys in touch with each other? Are you connecting?
I found you on LinkedIn, Eduardo, but feel free to connect if I don't get a chance to.
Okay, and I'm going to connect with you as well, Dan, so we can see if we can get some of those opportunities going.
I already sent a message to you, Christine.
Oh, great. You found me.
I'm not sure how I ended up here, but I had link to join, so I.
Okay, no, that's great. We're glad you're here and thank you for sharing. So we're just about at the 1 o'clock hour. We like to respect everyone's time. So Rosemary, final words.
Oh, final words. I thought I said my final words. Oh, okay.
All right, so I'll give you a minute, 1 minute.
I'm sorry there weren't more questions. I would have loved to have heard from other people. I don't know whether I just overwhelmed people by talking too much, or I've told you everything you need to know. But if anybody does want to get in touch with me and has a question later, I'd be happy to respond.
Thank you. And Rosemary, thank you for all you do. And thank you. I'm glad that we will still be seeing more of you. You're not done yet, even though you think you are. So we know you have some great things in the works. So we just all wish you well. And I hope that I can follow somewhat in your footsteps, or at least carry the baton for a while. So thank you very much for your information, your wisdom, and sharing it all with all of us. So thank you very much.
Thank you, as well as our other board members from Encore, who, you know, you don't do anything by yourself.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, thank you. Thank you all for being here. We will have a recording, so look for the recording. And thank you all, and Happy New Year again. Let's make 2024 the best year yet.